Hello, folks. I am John Najarian, co-founder of Market Rebellion, and this is Compound Interests. Compound Interests, I get to sit one-on-one with business leaders, entertainers, and we talk about whatever's interesting to both of us. This week, it was Alex Mascioli. Alex is the founder of the Crypto Fund Report. Crypto Fund Report, you can just go to that .com, cryptofundreport.com, and you get for free the stories about digital assets that Alex and his team have gathered from around the internet. And then they place them in, I'd say you get it by late afternoon Sunday, New York time. And it's a great way to start off your trading week. Again, those of you who do trade crypto assets, if you don't yet, you might want to check it out. If you're somebody who's learning about crypto assets, well, over at Market Rebellion, we've got education for crypto assets. You can see that by going to marketrebellion.com/get started. And Alex and I spoke about Pantera and what they're doing, which are the top coins that they're buying right now. Goldman Sachs renewing a commitment to digital assets and cryptocurrency, clearing, prime brokerage and all the rest. I think you'll enjoy the discussion with Alex Mascioli of BQuant and the Crypto Fund Report. Take a listen.
Thanks a lot, John. Pleasure to be on, man. Great show. I'm been a fan, listening to the previous episodes, and I'm honored. Thank you.
Oh, please. Thank you. And Alex, first off, tell the folks a little bit about BQuant, because I know that you were excited about the deal when you did that with them in 2019. I'm sorry. I think you finalized that deal. So you've really been at it less than a year with them. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. About 10 months now, and it's been quite the ride. BQuant, we're an institutional capital markets firm in the digital asset space. Our core products are prime brokerage, margin financing, fund administration, and we went live out of beta with prime brokerage. Really, is the first true prime brokerage by definition, in a CoinDesk article back in May. And since then, it's just been busy. It's just us trying to, revolutionize the digital asset space for the institutions.
Right. Well, and folks, I think a lot of you, if you're active traders, you know a little bit about prime brokerage. In the futures space and securities space, there are a host of big ones like Deutsche Bank, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, but in the crypto space, it's harder to find that kind of support, because that's what you're looking for is support. You're looking for somebody who can get you borrows on hard to borrow issues when we're talking about securities. And when you're talking about cryptos, it's really no different as far as you have a lot of demand from those bigger institutional clients, Alex, that, CoinDesk, as good as they may be, various different crypto exchanges and things that act as both broker and exchange, you need to get some, throughput for all those big institutional clients, or they'll go somewhere else.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's exactly right. And it's for us, it's the support, the coverage. It's a maturing industry, right? So we're still in the infancy of the end of crypto as a whole, and we're in a super infancy as a crypto on the institutional level. So, we have a lot of portfolio managers that come out of traditional shops such as Citadel, Morgan Stanley, and the such, and they want to have that look and feel, which is very similar when they run their book at those big houses. So it is about the support, it is about the borrows, it is about the execution, the reporting, and all the stuff that translates back into the traditional world.
Let me ask you one thing right off the top then, Alex, as far as cryptos. we've talked, most of 2020, we were setting up for the halving, which doesn't mean, folks, that they cut the currency in half if you haven't been paying attention. It means that the rewards paid to the nodes that are out there doing the work of verifying trades so that crypto doesn't get double spent, like Bitcoin, for instance, doesn't get double spent. They call those folks miners. And they're basically using that distributed ledger, and they're proving out that indeed that coin is being used, and there is still value to that coin. Because otherwise, that's one of the really big issues that hopefully Satoshi and some of the folks around Alex in the digital asset side have solved, as far as making sure that by that verification process, all these different nodes, it's harder and harder to do what they do. It uses a lot of power, as we've all heard, a lot of computing power as well, and the rewards for this just got cut in half, right, Alex?
Yep, that's correct. Happens every 4 years.
When it happens, do you notice a lag in the system then, Alex? Does it take longer? Or is it just the opposite? Because without as many people on the node verifying that there's not as much traffic?
Well, I think all of that comes down really to profitability. So the miners, when like you said, it's called the halving. When the halving happens, it's reducing the rewards to those miners. And so any sort of system of verification or speed of verification is really going to be on their business model, on whether that having the reward is still is going to impact their P&L, if it's still going to remain a profitable business for them, and if so, really hash rates and verification will stay online if it is. I think the last halving that we just passed in May, I think there was a lot of rethought and retooling on some of the miners, and I think on that side of the fence, that industry is going to start to really go to the larger players who can create sustainability in that, like the Bitmains of the world.
Now, when we're looking around at what has happened lately, of course, here we are, August 13th, Alex. This episode will probably go up tomorrow, the 14th. But when you're looking at the volume of crypto traded and the market caps of Bitcoin and Ethereum, I'm sure we would have both agreed that we would likely see Ethereum still be in the number 2 spot. But are you surprised when you look around at it and see that Ethereum market cap of all the Ethereum out there, the 112 million coins that are out there, is pushing to $45 billion now? I mean, Bitcoin's still at 11,565. So $11,565 is a $214 billion instrument. But are you surprised that Ethereum has made as big a comeback this year as it has?
Yeah, Ethereum is, one, it's outperformed Bitcoin, to your point with market cap size. But I think we're seeing, my personal opinion is, I think we're seeing a resurgence of Ethereum, because right now there is so much built on Ethereum that a lot of funds, a lot of the institutional players believe that it's a great underlying investment, whether it's security tokens or DeFi tokens or NFTs. I think what surprises me more is that today Link moved into the number 5th spot and pushed out Bitcoin Cash, which was, you start rolling around the top 5, but DeFi mania has just taken by storm, and Link is one of those, cryptos that has just skyrocketed in value. But I think, back to Ethereum, I think Ethereum is being placed as a solid bet with the crypto investors because of its widespread usage as an underpinning to a lot of other coins, projects, and tokens.
Well, when you look at it, folks, the March low, when people were burning stock certificates and, dumping out of everything from Apple on down before they kind of figured out that maybe it wasn't really the end of the world. This was a $110 instrument, and now it's literally $400. I mean, it's just a couple ticks away from that, Alex.
Yeah.
So to your point, certainly there's been an endorsement by the use of it, and there have to be some really big winners in the institutional space, in the hedge fund space, if you will, because when we talk about prime brokerage, that BQuant does and so forth, we're talking about, people that are clearing, tens of millions, if not more, per day in these trades.
Yeah.
Do you have any great, without even using the name, if you don't have to, do you have any of those kind of stories about, hey, John, there's this $10 million hedge fund that, just has lit it up this year and they've returned 600% or whatever the heck?
Not 600%, but over 100%. And that's on volumes of, over 500 million monthly. So, which is pretty large. Some of the volumes, you talk about spot volumes with like, trading Ethereum and Bitcoin, stuff like that. We have some funds, actively traded funds that, are turning a couple hundred million in volume a month and are really outpacing the market. They're up there with the S&P 500 or above in returns. And then you go to the derivative side of Ethereum, Bitcoin. We have guys that are doing $1 billion a week in vol and just crushing it. But we have the guys that buy and hold and keep it in their treasury. And the ones that have done that, we have funds that do that with Ethereum and various other coins, have really brought up their alpha just by buying and holding and gaining on that, that month over month increase.
Well, because I know one of the reasons I asked that was I know that Alex's other job, running the Crypto Fund Report, which is like the marketing arm, I guess, to bring more people into BQuant and so forth. He had Dan Moorhead, the CEO over at Pantera. I've had, and I know you have as well, Alex, the opportunity to talk with Dan. And he actually listed some of his biggest holdings.
Yeah.
That Pantera, one of the OGs as far as hedge fund crypto firms, he listed Filecoin, let's see, 0x, Polkadot, a whole bunch of altcoins. And by the way, folks, this is a $600 million space for Pantera. Pantera has $600 million in assets in this. So anything that he lists as interesting to them, that as soon as you published that, Alex, people had to be jumping on that stuff.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, Pantera is definitely one of the leading forces in this industry. And when I saw that list, I was a little surprised. I can't say that I was disapproved of it, but I didn't think Dan Pantera team were holding those particular coins. But it just goes to show that there's a lot of smart people out there that see the potential for alpha and things that we may not. So, kudos to that team. And by the way, that I think Pantera's in the crypto space been around since 2012. I mean, that was before crypto funds ever became a thing.
Right. Well, and by the way, folks, if you want to subscribe to cryptofundreport.com, you can subscribe. I guess they always say, don't ask a question you don't know the answer to, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I might just be getting it out of the goodness of Alex's dark heart. But Alex, is there a fee to subscribe to the Crypto Fund Report?
No, there's no fee. I started that 2.5 years ago as just a newsletter with institutional news and crypto fund stuff, because it's what I wanted to read and kind of cut through the noise. And about 6 months into it, sending out weekly, we had about 20,000 subscribers. And so obviously there was a lot of other people in the institutional side that wanted to cut through the noise and just read what they wanted to read specifically each week. So it kind of grew on its own and blossomed, but there's never a fee. I put that out every Sunday about midday.
So look for it, folks. He breaks a lot of news on there. And if nothing else, it's a one-stop shop. It's a lot like the Drudge Report or Zero Hedge, as far as Alex is gleaning all this information from a whole bunch of sources. Like, for instance, the #2 article this week that I saw on there, Alex, was about Matt McDermott becoming the head of more or less digital assets over at Goldman Sachs.
Big news.
Can you believe that after flaming out so spectacularly 2 years ago, when Goldman said they were getting into the space, they all of a sudden they flushed it. And now, Alex, they're getting back in a much bigger way because, like BQuant, this is a London-based guy.
Yeah, I never understood. I think large banks like that, they play with a double-edged sword. On one hand, they're shareholder driven. On one hand, their shareholders are going to yell at them if they make an investment directly into crypto because they just say, well, hey, why are you doing that? And on the other hand, if crypto is an explosive financial market, shareholders are going to yell at them for saying, hey, why didn't we have any exposure? Goldman is interesting in the fact that a handful of years ago, they invested heavily into a company called Circle, which became a big leader on the OTC market for crypto, and now has its own stablecoin in conjunction with Coinbase. And our good friend Steve Ehrlich over Voyager has partnered up with a couple of their businesses that they've spun out. But that was their exposure, and it wasn't a light exposure. It was 10 figures that they put into it, and all of a sudden there was rumors that they had an internal trading desk in crypto, and then all of a sudden they backpedaled on that story, and then you come out with their shareholder meeting that happened just a few months ago, and it was publicly stated Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are not an asset. That's what they said. It was a defining moment in the shareholder meeting of a big bank. But then all of a sudden, and this is why the winds always change in crypto. Then all of a sudden we get an announcement from the Office of the Comptroller a couple of weeks ago that says all regular federally chartered banks are allowed to custody crypto without filing any paperwork. You're automatically a crypto custodian by law. Don't worry about it. You let 2-3 weeks pass from that announcement, all of a sudden Goldman goes back into the game and they announce this new role and team building. So, they have shifted sides of the fence for the last couple of years, but hopefully this time it's going to stick with them.
Yeah, well, I remember in 2018, I think it was, Alex, when Stevie Cohen decided to get involved. I remember also Mark Lazary buying some, not trading it, just buying some Bitcoin. I think it's the only one he bought. Now we've got JP Morgan, Facebook, and a host of others doing various stable coins, in other words, tied to the US dollar for the most part, folks. Not doing it to, let the asset gather its value by its scarcity, but more or less, and I think, didn't I read, Alex, that Ripple no longer wants to just be the so-called banking currency or whatever? They want to be more than that. We'll have to see what ends up happening with that. There's so many of those damn coins out there, but I found that interesting that Ripple, which was always viewed by people as the banking coin, is instead now saying, yeah, we don't want to be the banking coin.
I think XRP is its own animal, I think. That's been a sideways play for a couple of years. They've had no particular price action on XRP. They control a lot of the inventory on the coins. So people are skeptical. Some other people are saying, for cross-border payments, it's one of the greatest things ever to come out. But going back to the banks, you have guys like Jamie Dimon, who I actually look up to as a CEO. I mean, I can't wait for a book one day to be written about him. He's a highly respected Wall Street CEO. JP Morgan's a powerhouse. He denounced Bitcoin, denounced cryptocurrencies, forbade traders at Morgan from trading it. Wells Fargo, another bank that anybody who had a bank account linked to a crypto exchange and their account was at Wells Fargo, they shut those accounts down for retail people. But those two banks now have their own coin. They have the JP Morgan coin, they have the Wells Fargo coin. They developed those under the nose of a lot of people. They use that digital currency internally for internal settlement purposes. But you have a horse speaking out of two sides of its mouth when it comes to the big banks. They're as much a part of this in their own projects as much as on the face of things they say how bad it is. So we'll see what the jury says.
Well, that article that I was talking about with McDermott over at Goldman, that article was saying that Alex put out last week, folks, was saying that he has been in talks with, it doesn't, imply that they're doing a deal, but that he talks regularly with JP Morgan and Facebook, and that there's a potential that they could work together. And you could only imagine how that might be both scary and pretty cool if JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs were both working together in the crypto space.
I think, those three companies you just mentioned would combine to be a powerhouse in the space, right? So JP Morgan, Goldman, both have the ear of the regulators, both of very large global operation. And then you have Facebook that has, undoubtedly one of the largest distribution platforms to individuals in the world. So if everybody there kind of came around the campfire and figured out a business, that could be potentially huge.
Well, I think we're going to be hearing a lot more about that, Alex. I think I've done maybe one or two digital asset or cryptocurrency Zooms since let's see, I think since March, only two. And have you been participating in some of those? You haven't been traveling, is my guess,
No.
Because I haven't traveled for one of those either. But are you participating in some of those with either BQuant or the crypto fund?
Yeah, so I mean, last time I traveled was to London. We were supposed to go together. You called it right. You said I'm staying home, and the next thing, COVID hit. So good call, John. Just like your options trading.
I thought you had a good time anyway, man.
It's always a good time.
You might have been stuck there for a while.
Yeah, I would have been scared of that. My wife would have missed me, or maybe not. Those virtual conferences at first I really didn't think had any legs, but as we attended a few as a company and got online, those things really evolved. They had individual networking rooms, so if you saw somebody you wanted to speak to, you could connect while it was happening live and go into a private side room. It turned out they've been great. I don't know how those things have affected the conference companies that put them on. I know it's a pretty tough environment right now, but yeah, I've attended a few, and I thought they were nicely done. The technology nowadays is great for that sort of stuff.
Let me ask you a quick one about custody and SafeQuant, because obviously you guys have this penchant for using quant in the names of any of your stuff. You've got BQuant, you've got BQuant Exchange, and you've got SafeQuant. Can you tell us anything about SafeQuant.io?
Yeah, absolutely. So SafeQuant is our custodian that we have in-house. And that's headed up by a really great gentleman, Richard Shade, who's our head of custody. They've been so busy the way they've built that out, but it always feels like they're building it out continuously, and that's because technology and ways to penetrate security are always changing. But Richard and his team, they constantly working on new safeguards for client custody accounts, such as one-way only devices, NPCs, where you can shuttle assets out of let's call it a manual device, such as a hardened laptop or something else, but nothing can come into it. So it's a one-way only, so it can't be hacked, and various things like that. But they're always working on technology on the custody side, because I think that's still one of the largest vulnerabilities for the market as a whole.
Now, one of my last questions for you, big guy, is about Binance US. I know you guys put it out. I know Decrypt was talking about it and things like that, but they had to halt all trading and orders after something happened.
Yeah.
And I know you guys wrote about it. You said, hey, the CEO, Catherine Cooley, tweeted, everything's fine. Your funds are safe. Where does that stand right now, as far as you know, Alex?
Yeah, Binance is, the news coming out about that has been pretty quiet outside of what we all knew. Coinbase has suffered those particular outages this year, particularly, and at high demand times. We've never suffered an outage, so I haven't experienced it ever. But I can say, when you're a large counterparty like those guys, you might want to overly communicate to your customers. That's for sure, because people do get worried, and if you're not telling them something, rumors build up and everything like that. I feel bad for Binance US, and I hope they're resolving it. I hope it wasn't a hack. I don't think it was, but the outages need to stop. We're still a maturing industry, so we need to solve that problem.
Last question, Bitcoin end of the year. We're at 11,588 right now. Where do you think we are when the calendar turns at the end of the year, Alex?
I say December 31st, we are going to be 17.5.
So basically 6,000 higher than where it is right now.
I do believe that. I don't think it'll go to 20. I think we'll have the usual holiday sell-off a little bit. So we'll settle in around 17.5.
All right. Well, folks, if you'd like to subscribe to the Crypto Fund Report that you've heard us talking about, you just go to cryptofundreport.com, all together there. And again, as you heard, it's free. Lots of great information. Alex does a great job with his team putting that thing together and putting it out every Sunday, as you heard him say. It's got directories, it's got events on it and so forth. And I just wanted to say thank you, Alex, for being such a great supporter of digital assets.
John, always a pleasure, man. Great to see you again. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir.
All right, buddy.